I never meant to walk into her kitchen that night. The porch light was out, the screen door hung crooked, and the sound of rain against the gutters was louder than my heartbeat. I was just supposed to drop off a folder my best friend had left at my place. Nothing more. She stood at the counter when I knocked, older, barefoot, hair tied back like she'd given up on appearances for the evening. Even in the dim light of the single oversinked bulb, she looked composed, almost regal. Her hand stayed on the counter a second too long after she saw me, as if she wasn't sure whether to cover herself or invite me in. "Sorry to bother you this late," I said, holding up the folder. "He left this at mine." Her eyes flicked to the folder, then back to me. "Come in. It's quieter inside." The house smelled like rain and stale coffee. A half-finished glass of wine sat on the table, the rim smudged. She gestured vaguely toward it but didn't sit. I didn't either. "You're always the one running errands for him," she said softly. "It's no big deal," I replied. "I was on my way anyway." "On your way where?" she asked, but the question hung in the air without an answer. Silence stretched. She crossed her arms, but not like she was closing herself off, more like she was holding something in. My eyes caught on a stray strand of hair falling down her cheek. Without thinking, I reached a hand halfway out before pulling it back. She noticed. She smiled a little, not amused, but tired, like she hadn't had a real conversation in months. "You're so young," she murmured. "You still believe people are simple." I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that she wasn't simple to me at all. Instead, I said, "I just try to help." Another silence. The fridge hummed. Rain hit harder against the windows. I watched her fingers trace the edge of the counter, small circles like she was drawing something only she could see. "Does he ever talk about me?" she asked. The question came out flat, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the counter. "Sometimes," I said. "Not enough." Her eyes held mine for a moment that felt longer than it was. The air between us tightened. There was no flirting, no plan, just a heavy awareness of how close we were, and how alone. She exhaled through her nose, almost a laugh, almost a sigh. "You should go before." She started, then stopped. "Before what?" I wanted to ask, but my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced down. A text from him, "Don't go over there tonight. She's upset." I looked back up. She had seen the message on my screen. Her face didn't change, but her fingers left the counter and hung at her sides, open, vulnerable. "Is that him?" she asked quietly. I nodded, unable to speak. She took a step closer. The smell of wine and rain was stronger now. She opened her mouth, closed it again. For a heartbeat she looked like she might tell me something she'd been carrying for a long time. Then the doorbell rang. The chime of the doorbell echoed through the house, sharp and misplaced against the low hum of the fridge. She glanced toward the front door but didn't move. Neither did I. "I'm not expecting anyone," she said after a beat. I half expected her husband, my best friend, to appear, but when she finally opened the door it was only a delivery man, handing over a small paper bag. She murmured a thank you, set the bag on the counter, and shut the door with a soft click. The tension stayed. "Dinner for one," she said with a brittle smile. "That's my big Saturday night." I tried to laugh but it came out thin. "I didn't know you ordered takeout." "I didn't usually," she said. "But I didn't feel like cooking." For a while either of us spoke. She started unpacking the bag, moving slowly, deliberately. My phone burned in my pocket with the unread text from him. "I didn't know he asked you to come here tonight," she said at last. "He didn't," I answered. "I was just being helpful." The word felt hollow. She sat down at the table and gestured to the chair opposite. "Sit. At least keep me company before you run off." I hesitated, then sat. She poured water into 2 glasses. The small domesticity of the act made my chest tighten. She'd always been a figure on the edge of my life, the woman who hosted dinners, who remembered my birthday, who listened when my own parents didn't. She was the reason I'd drifted into their kitchen even when he wasn't home. "You ever wonder how you got here?" she asked, eyes fixed on the condensation forming on her glass. "Here?" I said. "Here," she repeated. "Sitting at a table with someone who should be off limits." I swallowed hard. "You said that, not me." She gave a small, rueful laugh. "I know. I'm just tired of pretending we're not aware of the line." The line. The fact that she was married to my best friend. The fact that I was still young enough to be called a kid by most people. The fact that when I looked at her, my stomach flipped in ways it shouldn't. "Sometimes I think you're the only one who sees me," she whispered, almost to herself. Her words hung in the air, heavier than any confession. I remembered nights when she'd been the one to pick me up from campus because my car broke down, the way she'd ask about my classes when no one else cared. "You're not invisible," I said quietly. She looked up then, really looked at me. Her eyes were bright but steady. She reached across the table as if to adjust the glass in front of me, but her fingers brushed mine instead. She didn't move them away. Neither did I. The rain outside slowed to a soft patter. In the silence, her hand stayed on mine, light, almost accidental, but enough to make the room tilt. Her fingers were still on mine when the sound of a car door slammed outside. We both flinched. She drew her hand back quickly, as if she touched something hot. "Go," she whispered. "He's home early." My chest tightened. I glanced toward the hallway that led to the back door. "I can't just sneak out, you have to," she hissed, but she didn't move to open the door. The front lock rattled. The sound of keys scraping against the metal. Her husband, my best friend, was back. The air in the kitchen turned brittle. She shoved the takeout bag into the trash, wiped her hands on a towel, tried to arrange her face into something neutral. I could see her pulse hammering at her neck. I stood there, stupidly, until she turned and pressed a palm flat against my chest. "Please," she murmured. "Just stand behind the pantry door. He'll go upstairs. Then you can leave." I obeyed, heart pounding. Through the crack I saw him walk in, damp jacket, tired face, scrolling on his phone. He didn't look at her at first. He just muttered something about the rain, and went straight to the fridge for a beer. "You're back early," she said lightly. "Meeting got cancelled," he replied. "Where's my folder?" She froze for a fraction of a second. "Folder? Yeah, the one I left at his place." I squeezed my eyes shut. She caught my glance through the crack and then turned back to him, voice steady. "I haven't seen it. He probably still has it." He grunted, took a sip of beer, and went upstairs without another word. The sound of the bedroom door closing was like a release of pressure. I stepped out from the pantry, adrenaline still humming in my veins. "I'm sorry, don't," she said quickly, her voice low. "Don't apologize. Just go before he comes back down." But neither of us moved. We stood inches apart, breathing hard. She reached up automatically to push the strand of hair from her face, but her hand trembled. "This is insane," she whispered. "You're too young. I'm married. We should stop." I should have agreed, should have stepped back. Instead I said, "Then tell me to leave and mean it." Her eyes flicked to my mouth and back to my eyes. The kitchen was quiet except for the rain and our breathing. We leaned in without thinking, drawn by something bigger than the rules we kept naming. Our faces were so close I could feel the warmth of her breath. Then a floorboard creaked upstairs. She jerked back, cheeks flushed, eyes wide. "Go," she whispered again, but this time her voice cracked. I turned toward the back door, but at the threshold I stopped. Behind me, She stood with one hand pressed against the table where mine had been, staring at the floor as if something had broken open inside her. I spent the next 2 days trying to avoid her. No texts. No excuses to drop by. But avoidance only sharpened the ache. Every time my phone buzzed, I thought it was her. Every time a car slowed near my apartment, I thought it was him. By the third night, she was the one who came to me. A knock on my door at 10 p.m., soft, tentative. When I opened it, she stood there in a raincoat, hair damp, eyes darting down the hallway like she was afraid of being followed. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. She didn't take off the coat. She stayed near the door, fingers clutching the lapels. "He's been asking questions," she said quietly. "About you. About the folder. He doesn't know anything, but it's like he feels it." I swallowed hard. "Then maybe we should stop seeing each other. At least for a while." Her eyes snapped to mine, hurt, disbelief, something darker. "Is that what you want?" "No," I said too quickly. She closed her eyes and exhaled. "Do you think I don't hate myself? You're supposed to be safe." "I was supposed to be." She trailed off, shaking her head. I took a step closer. "You've always been the one person who saw me. Even when I was just a kid hanging around your kitchen. That's exactly why this is wrong," she whispered. "He's my husband. I'm not a kid anymore," I cut in. "Stop saying that." Her breath caught. The raincoat slid off her shoulders, revealing a simple black sweater clinging to her from the drizzle outside. She looked smaller, almost fragile, but her eyes burned. "You think this is just an age gap?" she said. "This is a marriage. This is a life I built. And you make me want to burn it down." The words hit me like a fist. She pressed a hand to her mouth as if she could shove them back inside. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away this time. "Then tell me to leave," I said again, voice low. She stared at me, trembling. "I can't," she whispered. The room seemed to shrink. The rain outside was louder, or maybe it was just the blood in my ears. We stood so close I could feel her heartbeat through her fingers. "I can't," she repeated, a tear tracking down her cheek. I lifted my other hand, not quite touching her face, hovering a breath away. Her lips parted. Her eyes closed. And then, from somewhere in the hallway, a set of keys rattled in the lock. She jerked back, eyes wide. "He's here," she mouthed. The door handle began to turn. The door swung open before either of us could move. But it wasn't her husband. It was his sister, tall, dry from the rain, holding a set of spare keys and a small overnight bag. She blinked at the two of us standing too close together in the narrow entryway of my apartment. Sorry," she said slowly. "I was told to crash here while they paint my place." Her eyes flicked from me to the woman behind me. "I didn't know you had company." The older woman's hand slipped out of mine as if burned. She took a quick step back, trying to smooth her hair, her sweater. "I was just leaving," she said. The sister's brow furrowed, but she didn't say anything else. She walked past us to the spare room, closing the door softly behind her. The silence she left behind was deafening. "She has a key?" the woman whispered. "She asked a few days ago. I didn't think she'll tell him." "No," I said. "She won't. She doesn't even know what, she knows enough." Her eyes darted to the closed door, then back to me. Panic flickered there, but beneath it something colder. "We're careless," she said. "Too many doors left unlocked, too many looks." I reached for her, but she stepped back. "Stop," she murmured. "This isn't just guilt anymore. It's danger." I wanted to argue, but my phone buzzed on the counter. A message from my best friend, "Need to talk. She's been different lately." My stomach dropped. "He knows something," I said aloud. She laughed once hollow. He's known for a while. He just didn't want to see it. I stared at her. I'm saying, she cut in, that he's been cheating on me for years. And now, somehow, I'm the villain in the story. The revelation hit me harder than I expected. All this time I'd assumed I was the only one crossing a line. She'd been living inside a broken marriage long before me. She rubbed her forehead. I don't even know if he's the father of this baby. The words slipped out and hung there like smoke. I blinked. You're pregnant? She covered her mouth with her hands, eyes closing. I wasn't going to tell you. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. For a second everything went quiet. No rain, no fridge, no hallway noise, just the two of us and the weight of what she'd said. I stepped forward. She didn't move this time. I don't care whose it is, I said, voice unsteady. I just don't want you to face it alone. Her eyes opened. They were wet but fierce. Then you'd better decide, she whispered. Because once we cross this line there's no going back. Behind us, the door to the spare room creaked open. The door to the spare room opened halfway. His sister stood there in the crack of light, eyes wide, phone clutched in her hand. She'd heard enough. I could see it in her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to listen, but he's calling me. He knows you're together. He's on his way. She retreated and shut the door again, leaving a vacuum of silence behind. The older woman, no coat now, hair damp around her face, pressed both hands to the table to steady herself. It's over, she said quietly. Whatever this was, it's over. I stepped closer. No. You don't get to just disappear behind a sentence. We have to decide. She looked up at me then, eyes raw. I'm pregnant. I don't know whose child it is. He's been cheating on me for years. And I'm standing in your apartment like some cliché, ruining everything. Do you think I planned this? No, I said. But you're the first person who ever made me feel like more than a helper. And I can't pretend you're just someone else's wife anymore. Her laugh was small and broken. You're so young. You still think honesty fixes things. Maybe it doesn't, I said. But I want to be here. With you. Whatever it looks like. She shook her head but didn't step back. If he walks through that door, he'll take everything from me. The house, the baby, the story of what happened. And you, he'll never forgive you. I'm not sure I care, I said. We were both trembling. She reached up and touched my cheek, thumb grazing the edge of my jaw. Don't say that unless you mean it, she whispered. Because once I choose you, there's no safe version left. The sound of tires on wet asphalt outside. A car door slamming. Voices on the stairwell. The air was electric, every sound magnified. Tell me, I said. Tell me now. Her hand slid to the back of my neck, holding me there. I don't want to be a secret anymore, she said. Not from him. Not from you. But I don't know if I'm brave enough. I covered her hand with mine. Then we'll do it scared. She stared at me, eyes flicking between mine, searching for something. Then she nodded, just once, like she was signing a contract no one else could see. From the hallway came the unmistakable jingle of keys. A voice calling her name. She inhaled sharply. We didn't kiss. We didn't run. We just stood there, her palm against my chest, my fingers curled around hers, facing the door together. He came through the door like a storm. Wet coat, raised voice, eyes searching the room for proof of whatever he'd been suspecting. But there was no shouting match, no slammed fists. Just three people frozen in a small apartment, rain dripping from their shoes. I knew it, he said at last, not to her, not to me, but to the air. I knew something was off. She didn't hide behind me. She stepped forward. Yes, she said, voice steady but quiet. Something's been off for a long time. And not just me. His mouth opened, closed. Whatever words he had prepared dissolved. The sister hovered at the hallway, pale and silent. I'm pregnant, she said. And I don't know whose it is. But I know what I'm done with. For a second, the whole room tilted. Then he laughed, a small, disbelieving sound, and turned toward the door. I'm not doing this here, he muttered. I'll send someone for my things. He left without another word. The door shut. The echo faded. She exhaled shakily, like she'd been holding her breath for years. Her hands trembled as she reached for the back of a chair. I didn't plan that, she whispered. I just couldn't lie anymore. I stepped closer but didn't touch her yet. You were brave. I'm terrified, she said. Then softer. But for once, I'm not ashamed. We stood in the quiet, the four walls suddenly feeling bigger without him in them. She finally looked up at me, eyes red but clear. I don't know what happens next, she said. I don't know if the baby is his. I don't know if we're a mistake or a beginning. I reached for her hand. This time she didn't flinch. Then we figure it out one day at a time, I said. She gave a small, incredulous laugh, a sound that cracked but didn't break. You really mean that? I really do. We sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd first brushed fingers over a glass of water. Rain ticked against the window, softer now. The sister emerged briefly from the hallway, left a folded note on the counter, no words, just a quiet exit, and closed the door behind her. We were alone again. Not hiding. Not pretending. Just two people, tired and scared and choosing anyway. She reached across, palm up. I placed my hand in hers. Neither of us made promises. But for the first time, the silence between us felt like possibility instead of shame. She squeezed my hand. Let's start by breathing, she said. I nodded. Okay. Outside, the rain stopped. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?